And who are we? That's a secret we'll never tell. Just kidding, you know it's us, and we spent an hour of our recording time gossiping, talking shit, and referencing TikToks. You know you love us. XOXO, Gossip Girls.
I hear a needy boy over there. I met these two cats last week, you guys, and I think I'm in love. Like, I love my cats, but those cats are also very great cats.
Didn't Onyx sleep with you?
Yeah. Oh, it was so cute. So my own cats won't sleep with me. They're girl cats, so I'm thinking it's just because, they're, sassy little women. But when I was at Ashlee's place last weekend, one of her cats came and slept on the pillow, like, right above my head, and he was just, like, purring all night, and I was like, oh my God, this is such a sweet baby. I love them. I did decide. Yes. I also decided that for those of you familiar with our cats are betrothed. So Onyx and Noodle are a love match. And then I don't know that they would actually get along. They would probably be a very volatile relationship. But I think that Edward and Goob would make a wonderful match because they're both just like roly-poly, cuddly little babies. So
I feel like Onyx and Roomba would, Onyx and Noodle, they would be more of like business profesh. Mm-hmm. Like, they would be like that couple from Chevy Chase's, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, the one that like, the like skiing couple.
Yeah. They would have like the matching windbreaker suits for when they're skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like a little bit bitchy.
And they, like, just constantly harp on each other, but they're like, don't disrupt our space!
Mm-hmm. That's very much the vibe, for sure.
Whereas Edward and Gooba would be Clark Griswold.
Yeah,
definitely. Isn't it Claire?
I think so, yeah.
It's a blonde chick.
The only one that we care to remember is Clark. He's the important one.
I'll have to admit, I haven't seen that in a really long time. And
that used to be like family tradition for us, but then we all moved, and so it's been like 6 years since we've watched that on Christmas, which is a little sad, but that's, adulthood. We don't live at home anymore, so.
My family's too chaotic to have, like, family traditions. Like, it just changed year to year.
Yeah. You just know that you're getting together on a day and celebrating a holiday, but what transpires beyond that is, like, I'm trying to think of what I was something to the wind. Throw caution to the wind. 3 sheets to the wind.
3 sheets to the wind is drunk.
Yeah, that's my brain is like not fully functioning today. And for those of you watching and not listening, you're probably thinking, wow, she just didn't even try today. And you're right. I didn't brush my hair. I didn't wash my face. I did brush my teeth, but then I immediately started drinking coffee. But I just could not be fucked today. So sorry, not sorry. This camera
looking cute, though.
Thank you. This camera is not in high enough definition that I really gave it. You can't even see my acne, really. So unless I like move my bangs to the side, then you're like, oh yeah, there's a pimple up there. But hey, that's okay. We all have pimples sometimes.
Speaking of pimples, did you want to read your little bub memes?
Oh, okay. So I don't know. Have we brought up Little Bubby Child on this podcast yet?
I don't think so.
There is. I'm sure it's in more places than just on TikTok, but I hadn't run across them until TikTok. And for some reason, my story today really heavily reminds me of Little Bubby Child memes, not because these people are like stupid or anything, but because basically Little Bubby Child memes make poke fun at people from the Deep South, and the people in my story are from Mississippi, Louisiana. And so like I picture their voices as the Little Bubby Childs. So, Ashley, I'm going to send these to you so you can see these. The first one is, this is how I picture the boy from our story here today. And I think this is the one yes, okay. This is how I'm picturing him, Bobby Dunbar, when we get to it. So, it says, sometimes I wish I was a feral child, wild and free. And it's very much like, a little boy with a rat tail that kind of reminiscent of Bobby Hill, but he's howling to the moon with a couple of wolves. And then this is the other one that makes me think of little Bobby Dunbar. And you know what? It reminds me of Bobby Dunbar so much that at no point is it ever referenced as Little Bobby Dunbar, but I have subbed in Little Bubby Child for Little Bobby Dunbar. And then there's this one, which is just an all-time favorite for me too. Because one time we found a 6-pack of Surge in the woods next to the Pentecostal church, and my cousin Derwin drank them all and seen God. So once we get to the story, maybe I'll lend a little more context to why this reminds you of Bobby Dunbar, but it does.
Honestly, like, that's my childhood. Like, that was my cousin's.
If you replace Surge with Ski, that's more of like the Southern Illinois version of Surge, I think.
Yeah.
Which, if you have never had a ski in your life, you should definitely try it at some point if you're ever in like the Southern Illinois / Missouri area. Oh, speaking of ski, isn't that the drink that my college freshman roommate was like obsessed with? I think it was.
I think so.
And she got like very possessive over her ski one time, like when they first moved in. And you know what? I'm just going to openly like rip her on this podcast because A, I don't think she's ever going to listen. And B, we were not a match made in heaven, more like a match made in hell. But it only lasted a semester. Anyway.
Although I feel like it was entirely on her just being a shitty person. Because I got along really well.
I know. She was the only person on our floor that neither of us got along. Like, everyone else was pretty much cool with each other. And then she was just like, I don't think she'd ever had to like share space before. And so it was rough for her. Also, I knew it was destined for failure when upon moving day, she's like, I've never really had girlfriends before. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, if you come across someone that says, I've never really had girlfriends before, 9 times out of 10, they're the problem, because it's not hard to keep and make friends if you're just nice to people and respectful of space. So that's where I'll leave that. But moral of the story, she had, when we first moved in, she brought ski with her and put it in our mini fridge, and she's like, you can't have this. This is not for you. And I was like, well, I didn't want your ski anyway. I just will probably drink my Mountain Dew, but okay. So if you're listening, you know who you are. And here I am 10 years later, still talking about that nightmare of a first semester. So I'm sure she has plenty of stories about me too. Like, it can't be completely one-sided, but I just think that we were not like a good match for roommate situation. I'm trying to be nice, but
no, don't be nice, because I was the same person that, like, okay, I'm just gonna go into this story because we're going to full.
Okay, wait,
time.
And then I'll have another story about her after this story.
Okay, so at one point during our freshman year, and I think this was right before she moved out, but I got banned from their room because Devan's roommate had a crush on this boy. Now, this boy, he looked fine, you know.
No, he was like short and dumpy.
Okay, but like, I'm trying to be nice.
Okay.
He was a nice kid at least. Like,
yeah, he was pleasant enough, but he was not someone worth fighting over other than the personality.
No. And I did not find him attractive, like, at all. I was just like, oh, he was very interested in me, though. Mm-hmm. And also, this is when I had, like, my freshman 15, and I was, like, kind of chubby. But I was like, you know, that's fine. Like, I'll be polite to you because I'm not a mean person. So I was nice to this kid. And, you know, he was, like, trying to, I think, like, date me. And I was just like, I'm not really interested. But, you know, I'll be friendly with you because this Devan's roommate was, like, obsessed with him, was constantly inviting him over and, like, all this shit. Well, one night it came to a head when he drove up on his motorcycle, his little crotch rocket motorcycle, which also was, like, not that impressive. And we were, like, he came up to see this other girl. And I was, I think, in your room just hanging out with you. And he asked me if I wanted to go on a ride on the motorcycle. And I was like, not really. Like, I've ridden motorcycles before. Like, I'm not impressed. Yeah, like, I've ridden, like, real motorcycles before. And, you know, whatever. Some people just like different things. But it was like, he was trying to impress me. And I just wasn't very impressed. And he was like, come on, like, trying to get me to do it. And your roommate was like, well, I'll go. And he's like, well, I'll take you on a ride after I take Ashlee for a ride. And I was like trying to be a good sport. I was like, okay, I'll go, then take this other bitch for a ride. Like, I wasn't really interested in riding. I didn't want to fucking leave the building, but okay.
But you were trying to do her a solid because you could tell she really wanted to go, and that was the condition that she could go, but you had to go too.
Yeah. And this wasn't just like this was like he said it the first time. It was like a back and forth. I was like, just take her. Like, I don't care. And so I go on this ride, again, around like a residential area, so it's not like you're going very fast. He's like, isn't it exciting? And I was just like, yeah. So, like, we pull up to the building, and she comes out, and she's gotten all dolled up, and it's like, she's ready to go on this motorcycle ride. And he's like, okay, I'm going to leave now, and just, like, drives off without her. And I was like, God damn it. So then she, like, messaged me on Facebook Messenger and was like, you are just the worst friend ever, and you betrayed me, and I know that you're a whore, like, just calling me all sorts of names, going on and on and on. And I, like, ended up just messaging Devin. I'm like, you were there, right? Like, you saw what I saw, right? Like, am I going crazy? Yeah. And she was just like, yeah, this is weird. So I got banned from their room for a little bit, but then I just didn't listen to that because Devin's like, just come over. And so I went and hung out anyways.
Yeah, well, another wonderful story. So there was this boy that I was, like, interested in from not my hometown, but, like, a city nearby. And so that first semester, he was a senior in high school at this point. So he was like, I was being a cougar, but he's like, yeah, I'll come drive and visit you for the day. So he drives like the hour and a half to come visit me. And he gets there. And so my roommate, she is like, you could tell she really wanted to, like, come to lunch with us or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, you can come to lunch, whatever. And then we'll, like, part ways, and then I'll just hang out with this dude. And she came to lunch with us, but we did not part ways. So she wasn't reading the room well. And so he leaves for the day. And that night he texts me and he's like, are you in the same room as your roommate? I was like, yeah, like, we're both in our respective beds. Well, she found him on Facebook and then was messaging him how awful I was to her, how terrible I was, how he shouldn't be interested in me because he was a nice person, but I was just terrible. And so he was, like, texting me everything that she was texting him as it was unfolding. And I was, like, in my bed, and I could see her, like, viciously on her phone texting someone, and she was texting this boy. And he was like, she is unhinged. Like, some of the stuff she was saying was, like, just awful. And, like, I didn't feel like I was that bad, but I mean, maybe through her eyes it was different. I think we just didn't get along well. And so she probably has millions of stories about things that I did that pissed her off. But no, I think this was kind of crossing a big line where she, like, knew that this boy had come down to see me because we were, like, romantically interested in each other, and then she, like, sabotaged the whole day. And, you know, I did tell her, I'm like, hey, yeah, you can come to lunch with us, because I could tell, like, she wanted to hang out. And at this point I was still, like, trying to extend that olive branch and, like, be friends with her. And so she comes to lunch, and then she, like, we eventually ended up just, like, going down to the common room in the dorm building because she, like, would not give us,
take the hint,
any sort of privacy. So we just, like, went and hung out and talked, and, you know, no love connection was made that day, if you know what I'm saying. And so he leaves, and then she just, like, spends her whole evening finding him on Facebook. And then somehow I think she had found his number on Facebook because it was, like, connected. So she didn't even message him on Facebook. She was texting him at his phone number about how much she hated me. So that was fun.
Well, and it was like, she was one of those people, or is, I guess, one of those people that's just, like, very two-faced, in which, to your face, she'll be super nice, and then, you know,
yeah,
behind
that's
your back.
What really shocked me was, like, I didn't feel throughout that day or much of that relationship that, like, she hated me as much as she did until she would be texting people or talking to other people, and they would tell me that she was saying awful things about me. So at that point I was just like, I don't really care about your feelings anymore. And at that point is kind of when I was like, you know what, fuck her, Ashlee, you can come back into our room. Because I was like, I don't care. I had already put in the paperwork to get a new roommate the next semester, and then she found out that I was moving or trying to move, and then she's like, no, fuck you, I'm gonna move. So then she moved out, and I got a single room because she made the decision to move out. So
and I think that was the same time I got a single room, because, like, my roommate had Well, I had like a different roommate the first semester, and she like just didn't like school, so she moved back home. But then after that, it just kind of went downhill, and I always had bad roommates, but not as bad as Devan's freshman year roommate.
Yeah. I have so many stories about her, but I should just cap it here. Otherwise, we'll spend the whole episode just talking about her.
Okay, can I tell one more really quick story? Because it's a little bit of vindication. So, this was probably our junior or senior year of college. And we were like, hey, let's go get some chicken tendies from Arby's. Because we have limited food options at our college campus. So we're like, we're going to go get some chicken tendies and some mozzarella sticks from Arby's. So we go, and we're sitting like kind of in the window, Devan and I. And we look out and we see Devan's ex-roommate in her car, which at that time was like a brand new car. Like her parents had just bought it for her. Her freshman year, she's like, what was it? We went to school in 2010 and it was like a 2011 Chevy Impala.
I will just preface it by saying she was very smart. And so her parents had bought her this car because she was like, I think, valedictorian or salutatorian. So that's one thing I will give her credit for. It was like, she was really smart, like book smart. So go off, sis, but also try and be nice to people.
So we see her in this car. She's coming out of Sally Beauty Supply, which is in the strip mall next to the Arby's. And we're like, is that your freshman year roommate? And Devan's like, yeah, I think it is. And so we watch her get into her car and then back into another car and just like watch the meltdown happen. Cause she obviously she lives in her own reality. She didn't think that she had done anything wrong. So she is out there like melting down. And then like the lady whose car she had backed into, and I mean, it was minimal damage, but the lady was pissed. Cause she's like, how did you not see my car?
Yeah.
It was literally like a parking lot, and she was parked like kind of, I wasn't like she was parked diagonal from her kind of, but like in a row of cars. So literally this girl just like backed right into like the only other car in the parking lot that she had to pass to get into her car.
Yeah.
And so like we were just watching the fight go down while we were munching on our chicken tenders and
dinner and a show.
It was gratifying because it went on for a while.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like that was one of those karma moments too, where like the universe knew that I just needed to see that. And you know, I'll be honest, a little bit of like lingering jealousy towards her, not for any like personal reasons, but because she was so smart. And like wasn't not smart, but I struggled a little bit in college because like through high school I was always able to just like sit in class and then do well on tests, but you cannot do that in college. So it's like, god damn it, this girl's like fucking smart. Why can't she be dumb? Because then it'd be easier not to like her. And so to see her like struggle with life skills so much kind of validated me. I'm like, I might not be an A+ student. I do okay. I didn't like fail out of college or anything like that. I did all right, like B's and C's.
Yeah.
But to see her struggle with like a life situation was very gratifying. So I'm like, well, at least I'm not that dumb.
You could say you have more of a well-rounded worldly approach to your education.
Yeah, that's true. Like college is very important, you know, to be educated, but it's also important to like go out and work on like your social skills and your interpersonal skills. Like it's not all about the education, and you could argue that it is, like a lot of people will, but it's also about like getting worldly experiences and like broadening your horizons. And I think that she, again, super smart when she got straight A's, and like I'm sure she graduated at 4.0 GPA. Again, one of the things I will give her super credit for is she is very smart, but her life skills and like her professional skills, I can't imagine were honed very much in those 4 years.
Well, and it's just crazy because I feel like you and I both have like very professional skills, and like we're very professional in our jobs, and like, and I mean in school and stuff, and it maybe not always, but you know, for the most part, it depends on like what the relationship we had with the professor or whatever it was. But like for people just to not have those skills and then to graduate and still not have those skills, like no self-awareness, it's like the people in college that you do a group project with and they're like not even doing it at all.
Right. Well, and I will say, again, this is like the first day that we met. She's like, yeah, I want to work with dead bodies because I don't like people. And I was like, okay.
So
like, is it because you don't like people or because you can't get along with people?
two things about her, because wasn't she obsessed with like NCIS?
Oh, Bones was
And,
like her favorite show. She wanted to be Bones, yeah.
Didn't she also really enjoy Twilight?
To be fair, I also really enjoyed Twilight, so I won't knock her for that. But yeah, I think she did. We used to actually, that was one of like the things that we did do as roommate bonding was watch Twilight, and I was like for it. I like to think that we have all grown and evolved since then. So maybe, like, I still don't think we would get along on a personal level, but I like to think that maybe her interpersonal skills have evolved since then. We hope. I'm trying to give her a little bit of an ounce of credit here and hope that we're not all the same people we were 10 years ago, but here and just like slowly wait for an exposed video to come out about me that it'll be like that creep show art situation.
I don't think so though, because I mean, it's self-aware and like self-reflective to be like, I'm sure that there were things that I did wrong, but I really don't feel like you did stuff wrong. Like, I don't feel like I did stuff wrong to her. Like, if anything, we were trying to help her out, and she just, like, could not take the hint.
There's one time, too, where, like, I was walking across campus back to my dorm, and she was, like, walking to a class, and we ran into each other, and she was, like, wearing one of my shirts, and I was like, oh, that was in my closet. Okay.
Wasn't it like a nice kind of expensive shirt too?
It was like a Volcom hoodie or something like that.
Yeah,
First of all, I probably even would have said she could wear it if she had asked, but she just like took it out of my closet.
Yeah, because I think you gave it to me after, because I'm also quite a bit bustier.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, it was like
you're just like
purple and green and gray striped Volcom thing. Yeah, that was in my like emo skater girl days, even though I never was a skater girl, but you know, that was the vibe we were trying to achieve. It was 2010, 2011, guys. It wasn't as heinous as it sounds.
Both former like emo and goth. I feel like you were more emo and I was more goth.
Yeah,
because you were definitely like Paramore, like had bright red hair for a while.
Yep. I was like trying to be Hayley Williams without being Hayley Williams, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I got the box like Clairol dye. I didn't like do the Manic Panic red. It was like quote unquote natural red. Anyway, we should probably like start the episode at some point. Oh wait, you had some fuck yous to issue.
I do, but they're kind of long. You know what? No, I'll just say it.
Yeah, do it.
I have a fuck you. I have a fuck you to and this is going to be totally random. I have a lot of interests. I am a worldly individual, as mentioned before. Fuck you to Alexandra Gator, who is an interior design YouTube channel. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, she posted a video that was just like very uncomfy. It was like her renovating, aka moving all of her old furniture into this apartment. Highly produced series. She's got sponsors, you know, multiple sponsors per video. It's highly produced. She has a whole team working on it. And she had this really uncomfy video where she was like, her boyfriend was like, hey, I don't like pink and I don't like this stupid fucking fake bird light. It's like has branches with fake like dollar store birds on it. And she is like, okay, we'll do something else. Like not taking his input at all. But she just recently, because I posted a comment and I was like, this is just kind of like unprofessional and uncomfy, you might want to reconsider. And a lot of people offered a lot of constructive criticism on that video. They're like, hey, like, and not mean, not bullying, not hate. They're just like, hey, we don't love the way that this is being portrayed, you know, maybe change your editing style. Like, you don't even have to change like what you're doing. Also, we're a little disappointed because this is just literally you moving your old furniture into your new apartment. And it wasn't framed like, oh, you know, we're saving or it's COVID, so we can't really go, like, look at furniture. It was just like, this is the finished look, permanent, done.
It's like no, that's your same apartment, just in a different shape room. Like, you didn't really do any extra work.
Part of that, it was like a 2-video segment on this living room. And for the first one, it wasn't sponsored. She had someone send her a gift of free hardwood floors. And it's like, bitch, like, that's the level we're talking. It's not like, oh, you know, you had HelloFresh sponsor this video with your affiliate code. It was like, you're getting something that's worth thousands of dollars sent to you. Kind of like, this is the level she's at. So it's like, people expect a little bit more from her. And even if she had framed it differently, whatever. But on this video, people are commenting, offering criticism. They're like, hey, don't love it. Don't love the vibe. Could you maybe change it up? And so she has not responded to it at all, not acknowledged it. But I went on the other day because someone had replied to my comment and I got that notification. So I just went to see like what the person had said. And this girl, like 10 hours before I had checked, someone had posted a comment and Alexandra Gator had pinned it, and it was just like, you're being so judgmental and mean, and you don't know what goes into having an apartment. It was basically just blowing smoke up her ass. And I was like, this is a very specific, like very flattering comment to be posted, and then for this girl to pin it literally like right as soon as it was commented. And so then I go to the commenters page, and I see that it's someone that Alexandra Gator had done a room reno for. And so I was like, no, fuck you. Like, she probably wrote this comment herself, gave it to the girl, said, you need to post this on my page and I'm going to pin this comment. Like, no.
Yeah.
Talk about people who are addicted to praise and want to just live in an echo chamber of their own successes. Like, same vibe.
Also, and you know what, it's all very subjective, but I just don't love her design vibe. It's like, doesn't feel, granted, like, look at my space. It's not the most original thing, but I'm also not claiming to be
an interior designer.
Yeah, I just kind of like, oh, that's trendy now, let's do it. But yeah, I don't love her vibe. It just feels like a repeat of a lot of like the same thing that all the other interior design girls do on YouTube. So I don't know.
I feel like some of them, when she does like spaces for other people, can be good, but like the stuff for her own space is just like, I don't know, it just doesn't fit in well together.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like you and I, speaking of professionalism and stuff, like for our fine arts degrees, we had to take multiple classes where we just got roasted. Like people were, and it's constructive criticism, it's feedback, but we got roasted on our projects that we did. And like sometimes it is stupid where someone's like, you could have used more green, and it's like the whole painting is green. Or, you know, like, I don't like this 5-4 transition you did here. It's like, that's not what, but like, you have to get used to getting criticized. And it seems like because she doesn't have a fine arts, she's a journalism person.
Yeah. So she's never been roasted on that level where she's like, okay, I'm just not going to take it to heart, but yeah, maybe I could make that change.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you're working, especially because this is her job, this is her company. She has a company. She has a team. Like, people rely on her to maintain employment. Like, you would think if everybody was saying the same thing that you would be like, hey, you know, address it at least. Be like, hey, you know, this is maybe I didn't frame this correctly, or, you know, maybe we didn't talk about this right, or, you know, I'm sorry that this, not even I'm sorry. You can just be like, you know, we'll try to do better kind of thing. But yeah, no, fuck you to her. And I don't know. She just reminds me a lot of like pick me girls. Like, I have a cousin that's like that, where they just are like so addicted to praise, and like anytime anybody has anything remotely constructive or, you know, any sort of criticism, they just like melt down. And they're like, no, honey, you're wrong. I'm right. It's like, no, like, criticism is what helps you grow. Yeah. Like, being self-critical or, you know, doing self-reflection and stuff is important. And that's what I think that your freshman year roommate's issue was, there was no self-reflection.
No. Well, and, like, when we met them on move-in day, you could tell that they were, like, always very, like, this is our ray of sunshine. She can do no wrong, blah, blah, blah. And, like, even, you know what the sad thing is? When my parents left that day, and my mom didn't tell me this until after we had, you know, separated rooms. She's like, I could tell she was going to be a nightmare when we moved in. She could just tell she wasn't going to be a nice person. And guess what? My mom's judgment is rarely wrong. So if you don't get the Amy stamp of approval, you're out of there.
I think your mom likes me, doesn't she?
Oh, yeah. My mom, like, literally, I don't think you guys met until, like, we were doing stuff for the wedding. But she, like, was like, Ashlee was such a sweet girl. She was just, like, so easy to have a conversation with. My mom really likes you, so.
Yeah. That's all I really want is the Amy stamp of approval, because
literally, like, if my mom has judgment on a person, I'm like, okay, that's correct. I don't fault her judgment on other people, because first of all, I feel like we have this is one of the things that I like to pride myself on, is that, like, my initial vibe of a person is typically correct. Like, there's not been many times in my life where I, like, get a good feeling from a person and they prove me wrong. Like there's been several times where like in high school and college where starting off everyone's like, this person's great, and I'm like, no, I can tell they're just shitty. And then like a year, maybe 6 months later, they turn out to be a shitty person. I'm like, guys, I told you so. And that was like very much the situation with my mom and this girl. Was she could tell that she was just not going to work out, and she felt really bad that she had to leave me there with her.
I feel the same way though. Like I'll be like, there's something about this person I just don't like. Like, I don't know, maybe because I can see through people's bullshit with like toxic positivity, which is another thing. It's like a lot of these people are just toxically positive, and they're like, I can't accept criticism because that's not nice.
Yeah.
And it's just like that very condescending tone, and it's like I can see through that. I'm like, no, if you were truly a mature, well-rounded adult, you would understand that sometimes you have to hear bad things about yourself in order to become a better person. Like you can't always be perfect. Like these very like perfect trying to achieve people.
Again, back to this point, if anyone ever tells you, women in particular, because I feel like it's usually women that are culprits in this, and like I don't want to be like, oh, fucking women, because obviously we are women, but if you encounter a girl in the wild and she goes, I don't really have many girlfriends, I just don't get along with girls, don't trust them, because the only people I've met in my life that have said that, 99 times out of 100, they are the problem in that situation, because they are toxic people. Like there's no reason for you not to be able to get along with other women or just people in general.
Right.
Like there's a reason that you don't have female friends or just friends in general, and it's because you drive people away because you're just toxic. So if someone tells you that, there's a reason, and it's because they shit the bed. They're shitty people. Probably do both, honestly.
Real quick before I get into my story, I have to say that while I was in high school, I didn't have many close friends, but I was friendly with everybody.
Right.
So that's also a different vibe. It's like I just didn't like vibe with anybody from my high school. Like there were people that I was friendly with. I'm like, I like you as a person, you know. I would say like, you know, you're kind of my friend, but I think like the best friend that I had in high school ended up like totally betraying me one night when she got high and just like told everybody like all my business, and it was like it actually caused like a really big like issue for me, because she like told everybody everything, and I was like, okay. So yeah, but like she was like my friend until she wasn't.
I feel like that's a different thing though, because like it's not as if you went about your life like saying I don't like other people because they're all shitty and girls suck. It's like, no, you just didn't like find your I hate saying like find your tribe, because that's like such a chuggy white lady thing to say, but like there's something to be said about like, especially in a small town, your pool of people to hang out with is very small, and so like if you have like a slightly different worldview, you're not going to find people that you connect with. And you know what, this could be like a motivational speech for people that might be listening that are like still in high school, still in their early 20s, and you just don't feel like you have a lot of friends. Trust me, at some point you're going to find people that you click with. It could be now, it could be in your early 30s. Like it's not a problem with you. It's just like the pool of people that are in your nearby area maybe you just don't have similar interests, and eventually you're going to find those people that have similar interests, and you're going to have buddies. Like it's going to work out for you. It's not abnormal to not have people that you click with in high school. Like especially in small town America, it's hard. I get it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like everyone from my high school, I don't know about yours, but like the like emo and goth tribe was very small. Like there was only a few people that were really emo, and most of them were like the super tan like American Eagle wearing, you know, like just like popular girl, just constantly straight ironing their hair, and that like just wasn't me. And it's not that I wasn't friendly with them. I was very, you know, but again,
and like I will say like as I'm imparting this wisdom on you, I do like some of my closest friends I've had since like first grade, and it just so happened that we lived in a small town, but we did share similar interests. Like I just happened to be lucky in that, like, I think we all played softball together, with, you know, the exception of like 2 or 3 of these girls, but we all played like softball, the same sports together. So like, I don't know, we were into the same thing. So it just happened that like from a very early age, I had the same group of friends and I carried through until now. And then I picked some new ones up along the way, aka Ashlee, who I met in college. But again,
and now we talk true crime and conspiracy theories.
And it's a wonderful
side
thing.
note, we got to cut this out, but when you're talking about your softball friends, it reminds me of that story you told me the one time when the girl was like, oh yeah, my boyfriend stuck it in my butt and then I sucked his dick and everybody was just like...
Okay, actually, no. We might have to like cut this intro to like 10 minutes and then just like leave the rest as a girls who gab and just post it to our YouTube channel. But okay, I feel like we can definitely include this because we're not going to disclose any names. And if you're from the Alito softball crew and you recall this story, like obviously we know we're not going to name names, but you know who you are. So on the softball bus one day, we were like going to or from a game. There's this one girl and her boyfriend was a couple years older, but she was always very vocal about her sexual goings-ons. So she would sit in the back of the bus, obviously, because the coaches wouldn't hear what we were talking about. At one time, she told us the story about how she had tried butt stuff with her boyfriend, and then immediately after, she had given him a blowjob. So it was as if she had, like, given her own self a rim job. Like, she was tasting her own beehole. And she just, like, was laughing about it. And we all, like, were scandalized because, of course, like, little virgin me on the softball bus and everyone else. Like, imagine the freshmen. Like, I think she was a senior at the time. I was a junior. And then there was, like, the freshmen who were, like, 14 and, like, oh, my God, this is going to be me in 4 years. But it was, like, one of the stories that I treasure is hearing about that. So if you're listening... You're probably not listening, but you know who you are, and just know that that story has stuck with me until my adulthood, and I still, to this day, treasure that story. So,
and I randomly remember. I'm just like, remember that? I wasn't even there.
Mm-hmm.
You just told me the story secondhand. I'm like, remember that girl?
Yep. I like that girl. She was always very friendly. She just had a lot of scandalous stories about her and her boyfriend's sex life that we heard about. I don't think they ended up together, but actually no, I know they didn't end up together because now he sells real estate in my former hometown and he's got like a very blonde wife into like they're just like the prototypical like small town America family. But he tried to add me on Facebook recently because he is a real estate agent, so he was like trying to get that self promo in. I was like, that's okay.
No,
I don't know you on that level, and also I don't live anywhere near my hometown, so I will not be buying a house from you, but thanks.
Okay, another slight tangent, because if we're going to cut this into something else anyways, then I might as well go off on this tangent. I was watching something on TikTok the other day where it was like, there's like a trend going around right now where it's like your most controversial takes. And one girl was like, are your most conservative takes? Like, as a liberal or, you know, socialist, communist, whatever, what is your most conservative take? And one girl was like, we should raise the age of consent to 25 years. And if people are like, and increase like the penalty for people that do statutory rape or whatever, because there's like so many people that are like, you know, your 24-year-old boyfriend, or maybe it's like 20 or 21 or something. Because she was talking specifically about like, when 24-year-olds are trying to date 18-year-olds, it's still, like, not... Like, they're usually grooming them.
Yeah. Well, like, an 18-year-old is a lot of the time still in high school.
Yeah.
So that's creepy. And, like, the difference between your mental state at 18 and at 24, like, that 24-year-old, they've either, like, been out in the real world in the workforce, they've been to college, they've had so many more life experiences. Like, it is weird that they would want to be with an 18-year-old.
Well, and it was like, and I'm not friends with them anymore, but I was friends with a person who was talking about, like, who was, like, 29 and was like, yeah, I want to date as young as possible. I want to date an 18-year-old. And I was just like, because that person, that's why I'm not friends with them anymore, is because they were, like, definitely trying to groom people into, like, and that's, like, usually the argument, especially, like, male to female, is, like, the men are like, I want to, you know, train my wife in the way that I want her to act. And it's just like, no. Like, that's so gross. But, yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of, like, grooming going on. Even when you're in college and you're, like, 20, and there's people who are, like, 27 who, you know, are living at the college town that you live in and are just, like,
well, didn't we have a friend and she dated that bartender? How old was he? Or was he just like a young townie that bartended?
I think he was a younger townie.
Okay.
Because he didn't go to school, I thought.
Right.
It's the one that was a chef too, right?
Yeah, that lived up above that bar in that apartment. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this townie, I don't know if you ever heard about this, but he was like homeless for a while and living in like this old like haunted like run down building, and then they converted it into apartments and he just like continued to live there. But yeah, that was that was weird. He was also like really into drugs.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He did a lot of
homeless.
coke, right?
Yeah, and I think he was also
too,
into heroin.
Yeah, that's sad.
But
I remember him being nice too, which sucks when you see nice people like get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah. Well, and just to be clear, I don't think he was doing drugs while he was dating our friend.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was doing it before, and then he got clean, and then she dated him for a little bit, and then he kind of like fell off the bandwagon. And I think, and it was literally like one day he was just like, hey, I'm doing drugs again, and I'm scared I might have AIDS. And she's like, okay, I can't.
That's a little too much for me.
Drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, like, he didn't end up having AIDS, I'm pretty sure. I think it was just like he was just like high and kind of like overreacting a little bit, but obviously she doesn't have AIDS now. So
no, well, and like that's a lot of drama to introduce into an already dramatic young 20s life. So like I don't blame her for being like, I don't know about this. I'm not going to try and fix you as a person. That's just too much to take on in your early adulthood.
Well, and then I think after that she dated a police officer.
Yeah, she did, didn't she? She like went one end of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah.
Hi, if you're listening, I miss you.
Let's get together and get drunky.
Honestly, yeah, girl, if you're listening, text us. We want to hang out. We could also text you.
I need to text her because I haven't texted her in a while, and it's one of those ADHD things where I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, I need to text this person, and then I'm like, okay, I'll text her when I get home tonight, and then I just get like totally derailed.
Yeah.
But basically, for all of my college friends, I just like completely forget to text them except for Devin because we are so constantly like talking about stuff. Also because we're both like available at the same times of the day. So really that is what has caused our friendship to continue as strong as it has, because
well, like my last job, I sat just at a desk all day, like mostly bored. And so I would just be on Facebook Messenger, like sending Ashlee bullshit all day. And she, for some reason, tolerated it. So
I feel like I get into ruts where it's like I'm either super, super busy and it's like, oh, we have a bunch of projects to complete, or it's I have nothing to do. Like right now, because my work computer is broken, I can't produce any videos on my work computer.
Yeah.
And there's like another system that's broken and has been for like 2 months. And I'm just like, well, I'm just kind of on standby. So I've literally been like just doing random shit just because I'm like, I don't want people to think that I'm like, not that they've said anything, but I'm just like, to my boss, I'm like, hey, do you want me to do this for you? Because I don't have anything else to do. And she's like, yeah, sure. Like, that's great. Like, just try to be like, please retain me as an employee.
yeah.
Not that I think they would get rid of me, because, I mean, they're very understanding, but sometimes it's about optics, and, like, the people that I work with sometimes can be kind of judgy. Not like my boss or anybody, but they're like, oh, what do you do? Because they already, like, don't really respect technology.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a little, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm just going to say it. There's a guy at my work that he does all of his, he's in accounting, and he does all of his Excel stuff by hand because he doesn't trust formulas.
What? Why? Okay, I will never understand the people that, like, they don't trust the computer, but they will trust their... Okay, so...
They'll trust a handheld calculator that's 40 years old, but they won't trust their computer.
I had a guy call in. So, like, part of my job is to take payment for utility bills. And so a lot of the time it's, like, property managers that have multiple properties. So there's this one guy in particular that called in recently, and he had, like, 30 bills that needed paid for different properties. And so I take all of his bills, I total it up. I'm like, this is your total. He's like, that's not right. I was like, I added it twice. This is your total. And he's like, no, I've been doing mental math for 30 years. I know that's not correct. I'm like, okay, you're telling me that you're taking these 30 bills, you're adding them in your head, and you're telling me that the number I came with after I added twice on an actual computing machine is incorrect. So he argued with me about it for a little bit, and then, hey, surprise, turns out I was right. So I just will never understand the people that are like, my brain can do this better, or my 40-year-old calculator can do this better than your computer machine can. It's like, no, sir.
Literally it can't.
No,
So.
it's literally built to crunch the numbers for us so that we don't have to do the mental math. So anyway, should we like get started? It's been like an hour and we're just still like gossip girling.
Gossip girling. Wait,
I'm going to, okay,
on.
Go ahead.
Did you see there's a new Gossip Girl?
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. Also, I heard that they were revealing who Gossip Girl is in the first episode.
Oh.
So I don't know how they're going to format it. Ooh, also.
I don't love that.
Completely unrelated. So, my mini brands lamp. So I've got obviously some work to do to fill it. And the shade that I had for it, turns out it's not compatible with this one. So I'm going to get a new shade for it. But here's my mini brand lamp. I think I'm going to suspend the little shopping cart from the top with some like museum wax and then just have all my little brands underneath. But I wasn't expecting my mini brands to take up so much room. Like I'm going to have to upgrade to a big lamp sooner than I thought, which is a good problem to have because I do love me some mini brands. I didn't buy any this week though, but you can see like my gold mac and cheese, my golden baby bell. It makes me very happy. This brings me a lot of joy to be able to see my mini brands just sitting out. So anyway, I'm definitely going to probably this afternoon come up with a different graphic in which it can be just like cult stuff and gossiping and we can just upload. Even it could be like a 30-minute podcast episode where I put different cover art like he does and do cult stuff and gossip, and then they can listen to that, or we can post it on YouTube. I don't know, but we had a lot of good combos
gossip
here.
And chill.
Gossip and chill, yeah, okay, that'll be good. And then because I feel like this was a lot of good tangents we went on. We've imparted a lot of wisdom, so
we did.
It'll be like a 40-minute bonus content episode in which it's nothing to do with true crime and everything to do with our thoughts and feelings as people that like to talk shit about people and, you know.
Okay, but I feel like we don't talk shit about people. Like
unless they deserve to be talked shit about.
Yeah. Like, it takes a lot because Devan being a Libra and me being a Gemini who needs to maintain friendships, like, both of us, we try to give people the benefit of the doubt. We try to, like, self-reflect and be like, okay, where did I go wrong before I just go off blaming this other person? So I feel like we do, like, give people the benefit of the doubt until it's past the point of giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Well,
and it's like...
I have gone my whole life, and there's only two people that I just entirely do not fuck with at any capacity, and it is my roommate and then someone from my last job. There's even a particular boy that I have a feeling you know which boy I'm talking about, that at this point in my life, I'm like, you know what? No, I won't fault him for that because he was just being a college boy and I was being like a little more attached than I should have been, because even going into that whole thing, I was like, I know this isn't going to end well, and I knew that starting off, but I still pursued it. So like, I won't even fault him for being the boy that he was then. But that roommate and then a lady from my last job who was just like, honestly, the same personality as my roommate, where it was just like, it was never her fault. She was always the victim, and she would always shit talk other people. So,
and like, never, like, I feel like with me, if I have a problem with someone, I'll be like, hey, like, how can we squash this now? Like, I don't want this conflict to go on. How do we fix this? There has been times where I have been more like quiet about it just because it's like my job and I'm like, I don't want to stir the pot. But then it's gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, we need to talk about this because this is an issue. And this is more with like older jobs and stuff. But it's like, I found that like more often than not, than when you have a productive conversation with people and you're just like, hey, like, let's squash the beef. Let's talk about this. It might not be comfortable now, but it'll make us like be on the same page. If we're not going to be on the same page, and that's where we need to, you know, whether it's like a professional relationship or whatever, that then we can cut our losses and just say, you know, like, we're just not going to see eye to eye. We can agree to disagree. Let's move on. And then there's sometimes where you try to have conversations with people and they're just like total gaslighter, like fucking Gabby Hanna type people where they are just like so up their own ass, which I think, you know, is your freshman your roommate,
Yeah.
like, she's definitely a narcissist. Like, she thought she was hot shit because she did well in school. She'd only ever received praise. So, and it's like, if you look at praise kind of like a forest or like a field, you know, you can only go so long on stuff growing before it gets to the point where it can't grow anymore.
Right.
So occasionally you have to mow it down. You have to clean it up. You have to, you know, sometimes burn it down. Like Native Americans used to do that, where they just like burn down the prairie so that new grass could come through, and then it would be a better, you know, growth situation. So it's like, you know, as a metaphor, like people who just continuously hear praise, it's like they're not getting pruned or culled or whatever, and they're just, you know, they get to a point where they just fall over. Their toxic positivity bubble pops, and they don't know what to do, because at that point you've created your own toxic environment and you can't thrive. So
guys, this is all very good advice from your therapist, Ashlee, and I agree with that advice. Like, you can't suck your own dick forever. Eventually your dick's gonna fall off.
Well, and at some point you're gonna need to see a chiropractor.
Yeah. Bingo. And on
also,
go ahead.
First, real quick disclaimer. If someone has like a mental illness, usually we also give them like full understanding. Like I have diagnosed ADHD. Devin has probably undiagnosed ADHD. Like, we understand mental illness, and even some people who maybe aren't deserving of our forgiveness or understanding, we've forgiven and been like, you know, we understand that they can't really help. That's the way that they are. So it's not like we're just being shady bitches all the time. It's like, these people are really just bad people.
And again, like, I've gone 30 years of my life, and there's only 2 people that I'm just like, I have completely cut off, and you're just like awful. So
I mean, I've cut off a lot more, but I've also feel like I've known a lot more just really nasty, toxic people.
Probably, yeah.
So, anyways.
Anyhoozles. So let's wrap up the gossip sesh, and then how about we get into your story?